locations. Good morning, good evening, and good night. Hello, 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 hello.
Good night. Wow, we're done.
Well, I met some beautiful people last night at our panel that were from Amsterdam, and they said every time you say good morning, it's actually good evening for us. So
yes.
You're still here in San Diego, so good morning to you. But good evening to you when you watch this later. Great. We're all caught up on days and times. I'm Roth Cornet. This is the final day of Comic-Con. You're welcome. Danielle Radford's going to close it out with a bang. She has some really exciting news and opinions to give you later today. There are hot takes coming at you, so you have to stay tuned for the whole rest of the show, because right at the end, Danielle's coming in with a hot take. Joe Starr.
Also here, takes less hot, but the coffee's warm.
Spencer Gilbert hasn't been with us the whole weekend. We missed you.
Oh, I know. I'm just rolling right in, rolling right out.
Ah, living the life. That's why they pay him the big bucks. You, Eric Goldman is here. You've been out on the floor doing the hard work, doing the Lord's work, getting the news.
Okay.
You were at the Game of Thrones panel, which everybody was anticipating heading into the con, that this was going to be, oh my God, if Benioff and Weiss are coming, are they going to boo them? Are they going to ask them questions?
Boo these men.
Well, they pulled out, so we don't know, but how was the panel?
It was a nice panel of the actors telling funny stories from the set and people laughing, and nothing really revealed or no real nitty-gritty. And yeah, there was not a lot of there at the panel. They addressed, look, they did not ignore, like one of the questions was like, were you surprised by the negative reaction?
Not a fan question. They did
Not
not
a fan question. They didn't take fan questions, which, by the way, my theory, I don't think they were never, they had a huge line of fan questions. They said at the beginning we're going to take very brief fan questions. I think they legitimately ran out of time, but they were happy to run out of time, because I think they were only going to take a couple fan questions. But they did ask on the panel, James Hibbard.
The us approach.
Yeah. James Hibbard moderated, and he did ask, what do you think of the negative reaction? And they just kind of talked about, you know, the fact that, you know, they understood some people would have negative reactions. Nikolai Coster-Waldau, am I saying his name right? He said, you know, I think he said the thing that I think we all agree with, which is like, whatever your opinion is, that's fine. Don't call people like names. Don't curse them out. You know, again, which I understand. But it was just, there was not a lot of substance as far as people wanting to get some like reveal everything. Why did you screw it up? That wasn't going to happen.
So Conleth Hill, who played Varys, had this to say: you look at the amount of people that are here, and we thank you for watching us for all these years. This is the reality rather than a media-led hate campaign. I will say I agree 100% that the line that you hit is attacking people personally.
Yeah.
Because whether you like it or not, whether you have opinions about it or not, we all do. We certainly did.
Oh, yeah. Are we a media-led hate campaign?
That's my question for us today. Are we now, Chewy? Could you let us know if we are a media-led hate campaign?
Wow, this story is progressive.
Yeah, a lot happened.
Blue eyes.
And progressive. I like it.
Yes.
Something's happening behind me. I'm not 100% sure what's going on. No, we only put out here at Screen Junkies the finest Game of Thrones content.
That's right.
We are not hate mongers in the slightest.
Not at all. I have to say that I'm very pleased to see that a lot happened during our panel for the Joker and Batman. Joe Starr, I know you've been pulling for them. If you want to comment on the evolving Chewie storyline as well as Game of Thrones, that would be great.
I don't know what anyone thought this Game of Thrones panel was supposed to be, even if D&D didn't not do it. Like, what did people... Like, it was like, fine, we all get a chance to punch them in the gut.
Yeah, I
like,
really,
It's going to be a dunk tank.
like I literally thought that the people thought it was going to be like we would all get to go shame, 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 like on the mic or something. Even if they had come, no one's going to do that. And all of those fan questions they're screened, and they tell you they're screened. That isn't some insider knowledge. They tell you when they get there, we are going to screen your questions so they're not stupid. So
that's not the hardest, you know, security to bypass. To be like, I'm going to ask them why they're so great and how it feels to be great.
But I literally overheard someone say, oh, I didn't get to ask my question, and his girlfriend said, what were you going to ask? He goes, oh, just something cheesy because I chickened out and wasn't going to ask my trolling question. And I think that's most people. They might think, well, I'm going to really put it to them. And then when they're actually standing at that mic, yeah, there's some a-holes who would be like, I'm going to get them. I'm not saying you're a-hole for disliking the final season. I'm just saying, like, actually attacking them. But most people aren't going to do that. They might ask a pointed question, but that's about as far as
It's just a shame because I hope, like, when we get some distance on this, for fans and D&D alike.
When will that be?
10 to 12 years. Then
When the reboots happen.
they
When-
can
when the
sit
book
down.
is finished.
Yeah, when their Star Wars trilogy's over or whatever, they can look back and like address this stuff. Like, because I'll bet they think these things through and they do discuss it like for, I assume, months in advance and throughout the whole writing process. Maybe I've missed it, but I don't think they've really done a post-season finale deep
No.
dive
Not at all.
on the decisions they made and why.
No, they haven't, and they probably won't for a really long time. And the reason is because the conversation is really ugly in a lot of ways, right? So like I think it's weird how this is just kind of encapsulating fan culture. Like you love something, you feel attached to it. I did. Like I really cared about the end of that story. I was very much a believer in the way they were adapting the story for a long time. And then you have a slightly different opinion.
Yeah.
And you feel hurt and you just want it to be better than it was, and then the conversation goes to another level that's not acceptable, and it makes that actual dialogue impossible. And I think we're seeing all of this here, but the bad reaction I think on the part of the creators is to then say, oh, the people that have a dissenting opinion about this aren't real. It's a media-led hate campaign.
Yeah.
It's like, why would that? Like, why would
I
the media
think
want?
he was speaking extemporaneously. Like, this is
But it's
Varys, that, you know, he's just kind of talking in front of the crowd and be like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the media.
I will say in the room.
But that's to me very dangerous. Like honestly, I know it's Game of Thrones.
Fake
it's silly.
news.
Exactly.
Paris
Yeah.
fake news us.
He did, and it's like, why would people make up that they didn't care for the finale just to be mean to you?
Yeah. In the room, I will say, I didn't read it as harsh as I saw it on Twitter, and that he is kind of Varys-y, that, you know, and he says his line of the night, his funniest line of the night was when they said, did you steal anything from set? And he said, every scene I was in. And, you know, we all laughed. Yeah.
Damn.
But that kind of
Not
tells you,
untrue.
that tells you kind of like, he comes with that kind of like, you know, that attitude. So when he said the media-led thing, I guess I didn't take it quite as seriously, even though, of course, they better not keep going down that road. They have to. That's why I like Nikolai's quote better, because he was acknowledging some people legitimately did not like this final season, and that's totally legit for them to have that feeling. Just don't make it personal, because you can tell it's like, of course, some of them are not going to like how it ended. Like, I'm sure all the cast members don't like how their characters ended. But of course, at the same time, they're going to say, look, I'm looking back on 10 years of my life. It was a great experience. I met these people I'll be bonded with for life, which is legitimate as well. And, you know, yes, I'm one of those people who say, I'm not scorched the earth with Game of Thrones because I don't like the final season. But yes, we live in a time where a lot of people do that.
Yeah, and this panel was about the whole series.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So they're allowed to just talk about, you know, the big picture and
Yeah.
how fun it was, and that's true.
Yeah.
I do think it's fair to point it as sort of a letdown of a panel, because it's such a, especially with the showrunners leaving, like what was the
point
point
of it? I do say. I agree
because
with
even
that. Yeah.
like I think hey, thank you, let's all share stories panel works perfectly, like if the show had just like stuck the landing.
Yeah.
But at some point, like PR, somebody HBO should have changed course a little bit and been like, can we show them dailies from the prequels? Because I think one of them has started shooting.
It has. It has.
You got to show them something, because otherwise all people are going to want is for like Maisie Williams to just like burst through a wall and be like, y'all want to hear some shit?
Right.
Like, and it's not going to happen. It's just like,
Well, didn't
wasn't
they
gonna
shoot a
happen.
bunch of alternate endings? Could have shown
Show
those.
those. Yeah. Yeah.
Show the alternate
Oh,
endings,
Nikolai
and then we
did
can
snark.
vote.
Yeah.
Nikolai did snark on, and justifiably, the campaign, the petition to reshoot the final season.
Yeah.
He was like HBO's gonna do that. Like, I mean, because it's a ridiculous
I heard
idea.
that he said that when he said that dying in Cersei's arms was the perfect ending, one brave soul got up and booed.
Oh, wow.
Might have been,
One
yeah,
person
yeah.
got up and went, boo!
Yeah. Because I feel the audience, like, it's Hall H, it's like thousands of people, and it was mostly going to be a love fest, which is what I always thought. Like, they're just happy to see
Yeah.
the actors. But there was also...
Also, people are cowards in real life.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
let's be honest. Like,
I think one of they did, but like you said, it's like, why were they doing this panel at this point? It's just awkward because the last season didn't nail it. There was a very awkward intro they did where they talked about beforehand, you know, we're all here. We accept everyone at Comic-Con. And there was a lot of people like, we get it. Like, you're basically saying don't hate on them, but that wasn't going to happen, and you made it more awkward to say that.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It was never going to happen, and I don't think it's that people are cowards. I mean,
I
certainly.
mean, they are a little
like,
bit.
I mean, some of them.
Well, I mean, like, I'm definitely a coward. I'm scared of almost everything. But I think the reality is that I was scared of you and you and you and you and all
Chewie?
of it. It's terrible. Chewie is.
Why are you scared of Chewie?
I feel pretty good about
I thought
Chewie.
we were cool,
He
man.
knows too much. He sees
Thought we were
Yeah.
friends.
your soul.
I feel pretty good about Chewie. But I think the reality is that people are human in person.
Yeah.
And then when you are faced with another human being, you don't want to say something that
Yeah.
you then have to see the hurt on their face unless you're a sociopath.
Cowards.
And you enjoy that. No, not cowards. Like,
Well, especially because
you-
it's the cast, and they just get like us. They get handed words, and
Yeah.
they go,
You have to
"Oh,
say
okay,
that.
we're talking about."
I'm just saying that like the
this."
vast majority of people who are like D&D are canceled and I hope someone sets them on fire on Twitter, which I have seen plenty of, none of them are going to walk up
would
to
never
any of
do
those
that,
people in person or get on a microphone and be like, I wish someone would set you on fire. Like,
But
they
I'm glad
won't
that
do
they
it.
would.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
th-
sure.
I think the lesson in that is like, then don't also do that online, because the person online is feeling that equally, except that they can't look at you and you almost feel it more when it comes in text, because you can't look at the person and empathize. I don't know if that makes sense. Like if you look at a person and even if they're saying something not nice to you, I mean, you don't want to hear it, but like if you can tell there's something going on with them too, like you don't take it on as much. You're like, man, that's you, and you're having a day.
You have some fire
But if it's
issues.
just in text, you just take it in. And so like that's the real lesson, is like, don't attack the people personally. Don't say things that you wouldn't say in person. Like if I met Benioff in ways, it would be hard for me to illustrate the level of issues I had, but given a calm conversation, I would.
Yeah.
Like if they were open to it, I
Because
had
you'd
that
have-
conversation with Jonathan Nolan about frickin' what was it?
Westworld.
No.
Dark Knight Rises?
Say it again.
Dark Knight Rises?
No.
Wow, I guess we're not.
First Adventure Season 4?
No.
Agents
no,
of
no.
S.H.I.E.L.D.?
No. Space.
The Prestige.
Matthew McConaughey.
Interstellar.
I had an interview with him.
We were going
for-
to get there eventually.
Yeah, like we had a very nice conversation, but for a full half hour, I was asking him about all of the logical issues that I saw in that film.
Yeah.
Nicely.
Yeah.
And by the end, he was like, "Man, some of it was just cool." And I was like, "All right."
But that's
All
the,
right.
that's the issue with D&D not showing up, is like, I'll bet they have good answers, or at least like
Yeah.
they sell shows, they sell us on things all the time. They could have sold us on their ending, and then to just ghost at the last minute is like, it's a missed
weird.
opportunity. There's ghost.
I do want to say my quote of the day from the panel, which was when they asked, did George R.R. Martin tell you anything about your character that was never actually on the show? And Jacob Anderson, Grey Worms, he said, I'm only going to say this once. There was a long pause, and he went, dick, no balls.
All right.
So that, from George R.R.
actually
Martin's mouth
clarifies their
to
scene, yeah.
Jacob Anderson's
All right.
ears to us at Comic-Con.
I can see that. Honestly, sometimes the way George writes, I could see like that being a reminder in any narrative from a Grey Worm POV, like as Grey Worm moved across the castle hall, his solitary dick and no balls, moving against his
Whisk
breeches.
between his thighs.
Danielle, what would you just say?
Sorry,
to
Billy.
Benioff and Weiss?
What would I say to them? Well, why
What
didn't
would you ask?
What would I ask? Well, why didn't you include the dick no balls?
Yeah.
There you go. Where's that
Fair.
related
Chewie?
to?
I would probably just ask for the Snyder cut. Of
Yeah.
Probably a good thing I wasn't there.
God damn it, Chewie. All right, so I think that we have done a lot of good work today. We fixed Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
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 All
we
better.
fixed
I feel
fan
like
culture.
we fixed fan culture.
Yeah.
Someone had to.
I think we broke down the fact
Thanks,
that
us.
the media is not having a hate campaign against anything except for the things that it is, but we're not allowed to talk about that. There's a clause. There's a lot to do today, and it starts with smashing that bell, right, Joe Starr?
Hey guys,
Hey.
do you like what we do every morning?
Probably
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for coming out to our panel last night. Thanks for being
Yeah.
cool people. Like and subscribe, please. Hit the bell. Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan running for that bell. I like it.
That was a dive in. That was like,
Yeah. There's curtains
move
that
that
he kind of
fast.
just
Yeah.
ran through.
I got to meet you at home plate kind of
That was
catch.
the kid. That was the kid breaking away. So we had our panel last night. It was great. Joe put it together. Everybody did a really great job on the panel. I thought I was incredibly nervous, and you guys were awesome. Anybody that came out, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Honestly, thank you.
That was great.
Spencer has a special message.
What?
Yeah.
Thanks, Spencer.
That's right.
A monologue.
And then after the panel, like the partiers that we are, we all respectively went home to our hotel rooms, had a nice bath, and turned on Veronica Mars. Or I did. That's what I did. That was my night. I turned on. So they dropped Veronica Mars out of nowhere, and I actually hadn't heard it. Like I hadn't seen it on Twitter, but I just opened up Hulu to find something to fall asleep
and there
to.
it was.
And
Yeah.
there it was.
Yeah.
So I watched half of the first episode. Talk more. Who's a Veronica Mars?
I'm
Who's
huge,
a
huge
marshmallow?
Veronica Mars fan.
Huge marshmallow.
Marshmallows?
Yeah, I'm a marshmallow through and through.
I'm not sure this is a real show. I think this is an elaborate prank being played on me.
Yeah.
Is this like the Archie comics became like the cool Riverdale thing? Is this like Sailor Moon but like grounded?
You don't know, man.
It's kind of like Buffy but grounded, I would say, because it's you know.
There's no supernatural.
Yeah, like blonde chick beats up bullies, takes on
Smarter
power
than you.
structure, smarter than you.
Yeah.
Sailor Moon.
Does she fall in love with the tuxedo guy?
Yeah, actually, a little bit.
Okay, so it's
a little bit.
All right,
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the marshmallows. We'll now discuss.
Yes.
Yeah.
First question: why are they called marshmallows?
Because there's a whole bit about that
Yeah.
she's kind of like hard on the outside, but
soft and
soft on the inside.
Yes, yes.
Because she's kind of a hard.
I'm sorry, marshmallow logic question.
Spencer.
What stale-ass marshmallows are you eating that are hard on the outside? Oh, I cracked my tooth on this marshmallow. When do I get to the gooey center?
see if it was real.
I think it's supposed to be a roasted marshmallow, and they just
Yes.
never
Yeah.
got that far.
Again,
It'll burn you on the outside, but it's
Even
gooey.
our cameraman is shaking his head. He's rejecting it.
gum
I
your way
actually
through a
do
roasted
not
We've
remember
marshmallow.
why
got
they
too
call
many
them
Ryans.
Shouldn't they be
today.
like
It's a-
M&Ms? Like
a
those are
s'mores.
those are crispy on the out. But
S'mores.
that's a
Okay.
thing that features a marshmallow.
Sure.
Okay, but still on the inside is a marshmallow. Is my point.
I'm sorry, I don't want to. I don't
So
want to
there are
hang you
graham
up.
crackers on the outside,
Yes.
and then there's a layer of chocolate,
She's got a crispy outer set because
and then a
she's
sweet
been-
part that's harder to get through.
That's right.
Yes.
and then the goo.
Then the goo.
And the goo.
Yeah.
You just want to get the goo.
want-
Right, Danielle?
Hey, you just want to get to that goo.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what the show is about.
It would be an egg. An egg.
But I feel like her name's not Veronica Egg, and it's Mars, and you
I
kind of
don't
get to
feel like
Mars.
as a fan
Marshmallow.
base, we want to call ourselves the egg
All the
men and
eggheads
women.
out there.
All right, so just so if you didn't hear that, our cameraman Ryan, aka Handsome, just said what you're trying to describe is an egg. That's called an egg.
Yeah.
But we don't want to call ourselves the eggheads.
No. I mean,
I like
although that's
marshmallows.
smart.
Yeah, we're
What
marshmallows.
were we talking about?
You are a solid
Veronica Ma-
7 minutes into this segment, and I've not said a word about what Veronica Mars.
I said I liked it.
I'm just asking questions.
He's just trying to get to the real answer.
Can I
Spencer
say-
and I are journalists.
So I saw that this dropped, that they did this. It was supposed to debut a week from now. And they're here doing the panel. And then they said, surprise, you don't have to wait a week. You can watch it right now. I will say, the only issues I have with that, I love Veronica Mars. I'm so excited there's a new season. I hear it's great. I didn't have time to watch the screeners. And now I'm like, oh, now it's out there. All my gripes about it debuting early, I realize are both inside baseball and also inside Comic-Con. Because if you're at Comic-Con and they say it's all out now, how can you go watch it?
I'm so
You're
cranky about it.
Comic-Conning. I know
I'm
most
so cranky
people
about it.
who are everywhere else can watch it. So this is just a small. There's thousands of people here, but in the world there are millions of people. So it doesn't billions. It doesn't affect everyone. But yes, for those at Comic-Con, I go, wait, we can't watch it. And then a completely inside baseball complaint is just that, wow, I felt like they kind of screwed over everyone doing interviews with them this weekend. I will even admit, we tried to get them here and we couldn't work out the schedule. But I'm like, man, if you talk to them before the panel, your interview is like nullified because it was all like, you're debuting in a week. What can you tease about the new season? And it's like, you can just go watch the freaking season. So, but I realize again, that's a gripe for a very small amount of people. Otherwise,
Maybe they
you know.
did spoilers that they were banking until now we're getting really inside baseball.
I don't
Sometimes
think
when you
so.
do an interview,
Maybe they did though.
Sometimes when you do an interview that the thing hasn't come out yet,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
ask questions that are spoilers
Yeah.
and then you release it afterwards. But let's get back to being marshmallows because Chewbacca raised a very good point, which is that we're now 10 minutes into this segment and we haven't said what this goddamn show is. Tell us about the Lady Detective.
Okay, so the way that this show works is there is a high schooler named Veronica Mars. She used to be very sweet and very naive and the daughter of a sheriff on the outside. And then some terrible things happen to her. Her best friend gets killed. There's assaults, all these bad things. Her dad winds up losing his position, and now they're broke. Her mom leaves and is an alcoholic, and that's when her hard, crispy shell forms. And she starts working for her dad as a private detective. So he does private detective stuff, and she does private detective stuff. And yeah, and so the first season is a murder mystery about who killed her best friend.
Played by Amanda Seyfried.
Played by Amanda Seyfried. The second season is about a bus accident, and the third season is just like a weird, not me. I'm not in the, it's not about the time I got hit by a bus. And the third season is she goes to college.
And then they were trying to figure out what to do with her for quite a while afterwards, and they did like a pilot that didn't end up airing where she goes into the FBI, and everybody loved the show and loved the character. It's a lot of like really fast quipping with her and her dad. She's really, really funny. She's really, really smart. Kristen Bell is a delight.
It was a star-making performance for her.
It was a star-making performance for her. It's Enrico Colantoni. It's her dad, and they have this amazing rapport.
Yeah.
And they haven't known what to do with it. They did the movie, and now they're bringing it back. She's just detecting again.
Because when it was on originally, it was pre-Brick, a movie I love, but it beat Brick to the punch as far as like high school noir.
Yeah, it's very noir.
We're gonna have high school kids, but very noir style. The crimes she's investigating, the things happening. Because yes, they make in the show, I think someone insults her by calling her Nancy Drew, but they're like, we're not Nancy Drew because we're gonna treat this with a little more edge and the things around that happen. It's a very appealing show.
A long time ago.
We used to be friends. Now we're gonna sing the theme song.
Okay, so and it takes place in Neptune, California, which is basically Laguna Beach.
Basically.
It's like kind of Laguna Beach.
Sailor
Neptune.
Yeah, Sailor. So it's Sailor Neptune.
Yes, Sailor Neptune.
And
It sounds good. You sold me on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that true?
And it's
Sounds
all
good.
on.
I had no idea what it was about.
Alright,
It was one of
alright.
those things that was just in the ether, and people told me to watch it, and I ignored them. But
And there's also-
now I had to sit through the description. So.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Sailor Moon, there's some
Yeah.
amazing shipping that happens. There's two boys, and you're Team Logan, or you're not watching
you're-
the show
no one's
properly.
Team Duncan.
Yeah.
Chewbacca, who are you? Which team are you on?
The winning team.
And also, if you go back and watch the show now, you will see a lot of before they were stars, like Kristen Ritter and Tessa Thompson and Aaron Paul for an episode and Jessica Chastain for an episode.
Awesome.
It's filled with on the cusp of stardom people.
That's Veronica Mars.
That's Veronica
We've sold
Mars.
Spencer, so we've done the Lord's work today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danielle, for doing such good work.
Now I have to leave.
Yeah, Eric's going to go to a panel.
With
and
Kristen Bell. I mean, I'm not sitting with her, but she'll be sitting on the Good
Yeah.
Place panel. And
I hate you, Eric.
I'm not meeting her there, but.
Another great job. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
bringing
you.
us the news from the con. And we're going to talk about more.
got
We have a
this big
very special segment coming up. But first, I have to ask Chewy a number of things. Chewy,
Yeah.
thanks. Hey, I don't know. I'm having struggles sleeping at night. Chewy, what do I do?
Blue milk. It will
Okay.
just put a little. Oh no, I was gonna say.
Chewy?
Yeah, I can't mix my Star Trek and Star Wars.
Stop distracting Chewy,
Chewy, is
Joe.
that making you uncomfortable?
I can't see what's happening to me right now. So you tell me. Let's go one
I
to
think-
10.
I thought your
I
eyes
think
saw
it's-
everything.
I think it's an 11 of discomfort, Chewy.
Oh, now I see. You know what? As long as no one's touching my bathing suit area, I'm calm as a bomb. I'm good over there.
Are bombs calm? Yeah. I think that's literally the opposite that the bombs do.
You know what? It's the first idiom that popped in my head.
Chewy, what are you looking forward to seeing from the Marvel panel?
The Cats trailer.
I
Again.
definitely want to see the epic Shang-Chi cat crossover. Might as well just go for it at this point. Phase 5, all cats.
Phase 5,
phase are we
all
on in?
cats, and
Whoa!
Ding! It's twirling. This is a segment we like to call Joe's Wife Screams About the Dark Crystal. This
was
is
it.
Twirling. Thank you so much for coming on. So Torlin went to see the Dark Crystal panel yesterday, and I'm peanut butter and jealous because they showed the whole first episode.
Yes, they did. After the panel and after some discussions and fan questions, they did allow us to watch the entire first episode, and it was unfriggin' believable. I think the only downside is now I have to wait to watch it again and then to continue on with the series. But I mean, this is the first time that we're really seeing the Gelfling world and where Jen and Kira really came from. Because, you know, in the original, we don't know much about the Gelfling culture. We just know that the Skeksis wiped them out for a specific reason. This, we're actually starting to see who they are, and they're experiencing like different cultures, different where they come from, because they're not just all from one place, which I thought was really, really phenomenal. The character design is stunning, and it's so, it just kills me that it's so beautiful because they're still using puppetry and they're still using CG, but the CG is supporting the practical, and it's not relying on the CG, which is, if you're a Jim Henson fan, come on, that's what we're all looking for. And the characters are really amazing. I don't want to say too much about the first episode, but I left wanting so much more. The visuals were just, I mean, your jaw just is on the floor the whole time. I mean, it was really just phenomenal. And I'm like, so thank you for letting me go.
Roth is so excited.
I'm
you have no
so
idea what you just
excited.
did to her.
Yeah, I love the Dark Crystal so much. And then well, did they talk at the panel much, or did they just kind of quickly?
They talked some because they had Lisa Henson, the director of all the episodes, Louis Leterrier, I believe. My pronunciation.
Now You See Me and
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk.
Incredible Hulk. And they also had Taron Egerton and Mark Hamill.
What the shit?
Mark Hamill came to the panel because he plays, I believe, the scientist, one of the Skeksis. And so they did talk a little bit about that, but they really didn't get into it a whole lot. It was quite a short panel. There weren't a lot of fan questions or anything like that, but they ended up showing, the trailer again. They showed a behind the scenes that we hadn't seen yet. I'm not sure if they're dropping that on Netflix or on YouTube or online anywhere yet at this point, but we did get to see a little bit behind the scenes as to how the show was made. And then they just, well, Mark Hamill got the award, the Comic-Con award, where he was able to then tell us at that moment that we get to watch the first episode.
What's the Comic-Con award?
It was, I forget exactly, it was like the
Ink Pot?
Like Comic-Con Legends or something?
Oh, the
something,
Comic-Con
yeah.
Legends Award.
I'm sorry, I'm not into all of that. I was like, okay, I didn't really know what this was, but it was very sweet, I suppose. I guess it's the highest honor that they give at Comic-Con.
The highest honor we bestow at San
Yes.
Diego.
A room at
and-
the Hilton Bayfront. Not the faraway Hilton, the close one.
Like another award and everything to give to him. No, and then they really just let us watch the first episode, but they also told us that at the very end of the show's run, they're going to be releasing a bigger behind the scenes for how the entire show was put together and how that was made. So, because that to me, even though the show's going to be amazing, watching the behind the scenes, that's where I really can chew in, because this technology was developed for the Dark Crystal. A lot of this puppetry technology was developed for that film. It was brand new. So this is piggybacking off of that, but it's building it so much further. So we're really seeing maybe perhaps what Jim Henson envisioned for the original Dark Crystal. So I want to see it again. Can I see it again? Can we go? Can we do it again?
That was the first thing
Can we
you
bring
said.
everybody back together?
That was the first thing you said when you came out. You were like,
Yes.
I wish Jim Henson could have seen this.
Yes, because I think, in my opinion, this is sort of what he would have been doing now. And it is an homage to what his creativity could do and what his genius was. The writing is excellent. The characters, you fall in love immediately. The colors are just, and for somebody who loves color, well, but
Can I say that your special relationship with color?
yes.
And then I have a continuity because this is amazing. So, Torlin, and I forget the name for it, but you taste color.
Synesthesia.
Yes,
Yes,
synesthesia.
I can taste color. So I was actually salivating through some of this. And there was a gentleman sitting next to me trying to offer me chocolate-covered peanuts. I'm like, no, I want to taste this. But you're ruining my flavors. Yes, I can taste colors and textures. And my sisters can as well, and we make fun of ourselves because, we didn't know what it was for a long time. And then all of a sudden this article comes out that actually says people can taste sounds. And I'm just, oh, that's what we do, that's what we do. So,
What does this taste like?
well, I can't taste sound, so you can just do that for as long as you want.
So it's really
That's not a flavor for me. Valiant effort. But, for example, if I see this color, I taste like that purple is it's actually a velvet texture. It's not a flavor. So certain colors actually have a bad flavor for me, which that pillow is really not good.
Uh-oh.
That is a very bitter,
Thanks, Fandom branding.
bitter, sharp flavor.
Yeah.
Just put that away.
So, but
Yeah.
watching,
Just hide that.
Get
but
rid of
seeing
the
these
tape.
worlds and the tones and everything was really phenomenal. And I don't want to give away too much about where these characters are and what they do, but they really take a lot of care in designing these different cultures and really representing those, but still remaining Gelfling 100%. So.
The number of times that you've said Gelfling in the last 10 minutes has brought so much joy to my heart. My boyfriend is a practical effects makeup artist. The only thing I have ever asked him to do is to make me a Gelfling. Still hasn't happened, honey. Has it? And I think it's
Something's on
just
it.
years, right? Is my point. Yeah. No, and it's so excited. But I do have one continuity question. I don't want to do a spoiler, but was the crystal broken at the start of the episode?
No.
That doesn't make sense. The break in the crystal is how the Skeksis were created.
That's where I have my questions as well, because that is what I initially understood from the original story, is that from the prophecy.
The break in the yeah.
That's where we get. Now that I hope they're going to cover and explain a little bit more, but the crystal is essentially the heart of Thra, which is the heart of this world, and the Skeksis are doing things to manipulate this power. But as far as it cracking,
Don't even know the nerd that's happening right now.
It's really delightful
but
to
they
watch.
haven't gone over that yet. This first episode was mostly establishing character, establishing the world. There wasn't a whole lot that really happened plot-wise until maybe the last 20 to 15 minutes, where within those last few minutes, you really know the stakes are super high, and it's going to be a little dark. It's going to be a little dark, which I appreciate. It's not necessarily a story for young children, which I didn't think the Dark Crystal really was anyway. There's a lot more to it. It's a lot more involved.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely everything you want it to be. There are new creatures. They're still showing you some of the original creatures that we liked from the first film, like the Landstriders. But you know, Brian Froud's character design and creature design is just out of this world, and it was a dream come true to go do that. I was pretty sure I was peeing the whole time.
Hey, I'm peeing
So,
right now.
Yeah.
Team.
I'm not going to move.
This is amazing. What is that?
I'm going to stay here
sometimes
for the rest of the day.
You're together for 15 years. Sometimes she pees.
Yeah. You know, sometimes
What happens as you get older?
Yeah. You guys comfy? Good.
It's fine.
Thank you. I'm very, very, very excited. I hope you guys are excited too for the Dark Crystal, because you should be. As Torlin has mentioned, it is a mythic story about the reconciliation of the soul. It is no less, ladies and gentlemen, than the Ramayana and Luke in the Cave combined. So get in there, plus with puppets and stuff. So it's amazing. I love it. Get excited.
We had to explain Veronica Mars, but you're just going to leave that out there for them.
Yes.
Okay.
They have to watch it.
This is like the ninth time Roth's done
Yeah.
the Dark Crystal rant. So
Yeah.
people know by now.
I really, really love it. It's so great. I'm so glad that you saw that.
Thank you so much for sending me to that, because that was like a dream come true right there. I can die happy
Yay!
from
well,
the
don't.
anti-vaxxers outside.
Yeah. Oh my God, we were talking about that. Yeah.
I have to remember
God.
violence. is not the
Comic-Con's
answer.
weird. Let's talk about weird
Hey,
Comic-Con.
let's not besmirch anyone else's fandom, okay? People
No,
can be
let's
into
not.
whatever they want to be into.
Our final
Don't yuck my
topic
measles.
today is the weird protests that happen or outside of. We should do that actually for our Monday pre-tip. We'll talk about the weird protests, but right now we will talk about one final thing, and then we will leave the room together as a unit. I don't know why particularly. You guys are allowed to have your own identity. The Witcher sometimes. The Witcher panel was also yesterday, and they released a trailer for that. I don't know any. This is where it's like I just had the whole Dark Crystal moment. I'm lost. Spencer,
Okay,
catch
Roth,
me
so
up.
there's this thing called the convergence.
Okay.
Different spheres of reality kind of converged, and it gave us like a pretty Tolkien-esque fantasy world. Basically, all these parallel universes lined up a long time ago, and like elves and dwarves and humans and whatever all came out of it. But then the spheres like kind of drifted. The convergence stopped, and they were all kind of stuck together. All these people from different dimensions. The humans kind of took over, pushed the monsters and the different non-human races out to kind of the margins of society. And there's kind of like, well, I'm thinking of the video games, which is where most people, I think, know this from, but it's based on some novels that take place before the games. So I'm talking out of my ass, assuming that the dynamic is roughly the same, but Witchers are kind of these monster exterminators that kind of roam the land. They're like they're kind of like the Night's Watch. They have no allegiance to any country or any one person, but like a town. They can't get married. They can't have kids. I don't know the dick and ball situation. We'll have to ask at the panel. But
I'm sold on that.
you do have a lot of sex in the game.
I know.
So
Well, hang on. What?
I know the dick and ball situation there. You know what I'm saying?
I think they're sterilized. So they go through this crazy ritual as children, and most of the kids don't make it out. And,
Of chewed?
Yeah, a ritual of chewed, if you will, to become a witcher, and you can like have supernatural pain tolerance and agility and stuff, and you're then sent around the land. You kind of wander, hunting down like, oh, we got a griffin problem. Oh, let's get a witcher. But they're kind of like they have the same role as like an exterminator would. Where you're like, well, you're kind of gross, and we don't really want like to hang around your crusty rat body, so we just get rid of the thing.
Yeah, let's pull up that crusty rat body.
Yeah, well, because they're like sort of magic themselves. So yes, that's very interesting. So you know, a lot of games and a lot of fantasy stuff will be like, oh, let's like drink a health potion and we'll be better or whatever. Potions are a thing that Witchers really take the time to like harvest these roots and these monster parts and stuff like that. And part of their training is that they can withstand poisons. They're basically poisoning themselves. So to drink a potion is a huge deal, and it like totally rots your body and makes you temporarily insane. But you do that to like hype yourself up before you fight something.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting world where
Like iocane powder.
exactly. So it's kind of it's not like Game of Thrones exactly, but it is like Game of Thrones in that they take kind of fantasy tropes and dig into like, okay, what would the reality of this be? What would the more thought through steps that you would have to take to fight a dragon or to drink a potion and stuff like that. And it's got Henry Cavill in it, and he's a big fan, and it's going to be awesome.
I think it looks. I'm now sold, Spencer.
Yeah,
we
all right.
did it today. We're selling things.
This is a nice year where, like, I don't know much about a lot of what they're throwing out there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not to the level of Dark Crystal fandom that you are, but I'm really excited about the show. I don't know anything about Witcher, but it looks cool.
Yeah, I'll watch that.
It's kind of a nice place to be. Like,
Where you don't know everything.
yeah, I have
and
zero
you get to
expectations.
have-
That looks neat.
You get to
Like,
have things like unfold for you naturally.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
feels good.
Well, before we wrap it up today, I did promise you that Danielle was going to have a pretty hot take. And I presume you remember when I said that at the beginning of the show.
I absolutely clearly did.
Yeah. And we're going to go to Chewy to ask for his final thoughts on The Witcher, on The Dark Crystal, on Comic-Con in general, on anti-vaxxers. Chewy?
I love that I've just become your machination for vamping. Chewy, could you just say things while we figure out what the next segment is? By the way, HBO did just drop their new Watchmen trailer, so I guess
really?
we'll react to that for Monday's show.
Okay. So we will not watch The Watchmen now. Disappointing, but that's okay because we will react to that for Monday's show, says Chewy. And we will be later here today. Words.
We will be later here today.
We will be here
In
later
defiance of
today. In defiance of tyranny and vaccines everywhere. We will be saving the world one Marvel panel at a time, as always. Eric and Dan are in the Marvel panel later. They actually have to just hang out in Hall H all day long.
just all day.
They're just sitting there. We sent them in. They can't come out.
Did we give them any fruit snacks or like some orange slices?
We gave them a bottle to pee in. We gave them a few orange slices and some peanut butter. That's it. Those are
Great.
the provisions. No water. So they do, I think, probably have to drink the urine eventually.
Do you want to? Yeah.
Kicking that to Joe.
Hang on, I'm hearing from our urine correspondent.
Hey, Roth, we did get a to scale picture of the horse for you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, we have the horse?
Okay,
Oh,
okay, okay.
God.
We showed
Very,
the horse
very-
yesterday, but we didn't show like
The scale.
the scale of how big it actually is.
Okay, so I
missed
want to
a good
revisit
show
the
yesterday
horse
at the
that
crazy
has
show.
been thank you, Chewy. The horse that's been discovered in the hallway is a very important horse for us this con. Again, I do want to emphasize we will be back later today with all of the news from Marvel to talk in a serious way. But before that, here's some important facts you need to know about the horse. If we can see the horse, Torlin knows all about horses. She's going to unpack the horse.
This horse.
That, no.
That horse.
That horse.
Dad
Yeah.
ride that horse.
Yeah.
Okay. There's so many things wrong with this horse.
Okay.
okay, my hands are a little small, but it was probably about 9 to 10 hands, which is average for a horse. But if you look at the proportions, it looks like they stuck long legs and a fat neck on a pig body, which really bothers me.
I love you so much.
The eyeballs are really bulging. It has a penis, but it has no anus, so
I thought it had a penis.
that bothers me. It's like if you bother to put the genitalia on there, just finish it.
Yeah, finish up.
It's wearing
up.
it's wearing the lamp like a crazy party hat, but yeah, there's
Functioning lamp.
yeah, the muscles are wrong. It's just it's like someone just took a okay horse and just
It looks like it became
together.
an old-timey bodybuilder, like a circus
It's
strongman.
roided out. That horse is definitely roided out. You know, the eyes are
But
starting
not
to
in the right
bulge. They
places.
follow you.
No,
It's
yeah.
Needs
just
to be a little thicker.
I do want to ride the horse a little bit. I would like to try to.
I feel like we can
do
make
that.
that happen if you like. I will say this: we came back here
Trouble.
last night after our panel to pick up some stuff and then go back to our hotel and watch Veronica Mars. But Torlin comes out from the horse, and I was just like, "Hey, what do you think of the horse?" And she goes, "That horse would never sell."
Yeah, that is a horse you would not be able to sell for much, not at all. You'd probably just go to the meat factory.
All right. Well, that Mr.
That's a
Ed
meat
will
horse.
be made into glue by tomorrow's show. We will be back later today with all of the Marvel news. We will be back on Monday with more horse shenanigans.
Danielle's hot take.
And Danielle's hot take.
And my hot
Again,
take.
It is scorching. So you have to watch all the way through to every video we ever will make
Guys, I
and
really-
ever had make to get to that hot take.
I really put my foot in that take.
Yeah, it is.
all in
It
it.
is. Okay,
Melting faces.
I think we're done. But Starlight.